everyone, how's it going? Forrest here, again with another installment of my complete analysis of all of J.S. Bach's chorale harmonizations. Today we're looking at in allen meinen Taten, which we've already analyzed at least one harmonization of it. However, this is another harmonization of the same melody, and the translation is in all that I do. I'm feeling a little under the weather today, so apologies if I'm lower energy, but we should just hop right into the analysis. B flat major at the end, B flat major at the beginning, and 2 flats in the key signature. I think we're in the key of B flat major, and our first cadence is an imperfect authentic cadence. We start off with a tonic triad in root position, and then immediately goes to E flat, G, and B flat, which is an E flat major triad in root position, which is 4, passing 7th in the bass, and then we get C, E flat, A, and C. That is an A flat, an A diminished triad in first inversion, which is 7/6, which is one of the places we expect 4 to go to. And then we get B flat, F, B flat, and D, which is a tonic triad in root position, which is where 7 usually wants to go. We then have A, C, F, and F. That's an F major triad in first inversion, which is 5/6. And then we have G, B flat, G, and E flat, which is another E flat major triad. This time it's in first inversion, so that's 4/6. And then we have F, C, F, and E flat, A, C, F, and E flat. That is a F7 chord over A, which is 5/6/5, before we cadence on B flat major again in root position. But notice how the D is in the soprano rather than B flat, which means this is imperfect authentic. Moving ahead, we have what I hear as a half cadence in the key of B flat, but you might hear it as a authentic cadence in F. I'm pretty certain it's a half cadence though. So next we have another B flat major triad, so no need to reanalyze. We then have C, E flat, and B flat, so kind of a passing 2 chord, but I don't think it's super necessary to analyze that. We have D, B flat, D, and F, which is another tonic triad, but this time it's in first inversion. Neighbor tone in the bass, passing tone in the alto. Then we have D, B flat, F, and F, which is another tonic triad in first inversion, so no need to reanalyze. Then we have E flat, B flat, G, and F. It's just some counterpoint. It's not really an analyzable chord. But then we have F, F, A, and C. It's a 5 chord in root position, F major. Then we have D, F, A, and D. It's a D minor triad in root position, which is a 3 chord. G, F, G, and B flat. I reckon this F is an accented non-chord tone, and we're actually looking at this E natural here. E natural, G, and B flat is E diminished over G, which is 7/6/5, as E is the leading tone to F, and F is our 5. And then we cadence on F major. If we were analyzing this section in the key of F major, we could say something like this 5 chord would be a 1 chord, this D minor chord would be a 6 chord, this E diminished triad over G would just be 7/6, and then we would cadence on 1. But with the 5 in the soprano, I hear it more as a half cadence rather than as an authentic cadence, but I think both are valid. And the last cadence of this system is a half cadence again in the key of B flat major. Here we have D, A, D, and F. It's another D minor triad, which is 3. G, B flat, D, and B flat. That's a G minor triad in root position, which is 6. F, A, F, and C. That's another F major triad in root position, which is 5, passing 7th in the bass. And then we have D, B flat, F, and D, which is a tonic triad, B flat major in first inversion, passing tone in the bass again. And then we have B flat, F, and D, which is another tonic triad, but this time it's in root position, non-chord tone in the melody, before we cadence on 5, F, A, F, and C. So I think there are 2 possible analyses for what is happening next, because we have a half cadence here in the key of C minor, right? Am I analyzing that correctly? No, it's apologies. This is not a half cadence in the key of C minor. This is an imperfect authentic. Is it? Let's see. We have A natural, B flat. I analyzed it in the key of G minor. So I think instead of this being a half cadence, this might be an authentic cadence in the key of G minor, but we have the Picardy third in there. We'll take a look at it and see what happens. We have F sharp, D, A, and D, which is a D major triad, which is a 5-6 chord in the key of G minor. And this sounds kind of like a direct modulation to me. It would feel kind of weird having this be a common chord. It feels like we're just thrust right into the key of G minor, so I'm inclined to call it a direct modulation, but it's possible for us to call this a common chord right here if you wanted to. I think both are valid analyses. But we do go to G minor afterwards, G, D, G, and B flat, which is our tonic triad and root position. We then have A, C, F, and C. Kind of strengthens this argument that this F is a common chord because this would be 7-6, or some of you might call this 5-6 of 3, depending on how you look at it. It more often than not does go to a 3 chord, but it sometimes goes to 1 or elsewhere. But here we have B flat, F, and D, which is our 3 chord and root position, B flat major, passing tones in the tenor and the alto, the soprano. And then we have B natural, D, G, and F, which is G7 over B. That's 5-6 of 4, as G is the dominant of C, which is our 4. We then have C, D, G, and E flat. This D is a 9/8 suspension over the bass, and this is just a 4 chord and root position. So after taking another listen, I do think we go to the key of G minor. However, I think this secondary dominant right here is where we go to C minor, and this is actually just 5-6-5 before we go to 1 with the suspension. And then that suspension resolves, and then we cadence on 5. G, B natural, G, and D. Instead of calling that a Picardy third. This is definitely a half cadence. That's what it sounds like to me, and also the fact that it has the 5th in the melody, just like the previous 2 half cadences. There's some symmetry there. But afterwards we have B flat, and I guess it kind of feels like another direct modulation here. It doesn't quite sound like one continuous idea. It sounds like its own separate phrase, because the end of this is another half cadence. There are lots of half cadences in this chorale. But this B flat doesn't sound like it's related. I'm going to call it a direct modulation to B flat. However, you could call this, you could also call this 7. That is now 1 in the key of B flat. But I'm just going to call it a direct modulation because that's what it sounds like to me. Passing tone in the melody. We have A, C, F, and F. That's a F major triad and root position. You have some passing tones here. Then we have F, A, F, A, and F. So an incomplete F major triad. This is in first inversion. So this is just taking the triad and putting it in root position. Some more passing tones going on in the lower 3 voices before we get A, F, C, and C, which is just another first inversion F major chord. Passing tones in the inner voices before we get F, A, and D. So it almost looks like we're going to get another F major triad, but instead we get D minor, which in the key of B flat is a 3 chord in first inversion. And this is not the first time we've seen 5 going to 3. As we've seen it twice, so it's a kind of a little harmonic theme here. Passing tone in the alto, and then we get D, F, and B flat. That's our tonic triad in first inversion. We then get E, C, G, and B flat. That is C7 over E, which is 5-6-5 of 5. And then we cadence on F, C, F, and A. Dominant triad and root position. Of course, if you wanted to say that this was in the key of F major again, you could say that this was 6. You could even say if it was earlier over here, but just to start the analysis, you could say this was 6-6. You could say this was 4-6. You could say this was 5-6-5, and this was our tonic right here. That'd be totally fine as well, depending on how you hear it, because this half cadence does have the third in the melody, which is usually indicative of an imperfect authentic cadence rather than a half cadence, which has the fifth in the melody. But that's not always the case. We've had half cadences that have the root of the chord in the melody too. Alright, here we have E flat, A, C, and F, which is F7 over E flat, so that's just 5-4-2, no need to re-add the Roman numeral. We then have D, B flat, F, and D, or B flat again, which is a B flat major triad and root first inversion, so 1-6. We then have C, E flat, G, and C, and we'd be tempted to call this a 2 chord, which some of you might hear it as. However, I think this A is our chord tone here, and this is actually an A diminished triad over C. I think they're both accomplishing the same thing, but one going to 7 going to 1 seems more normal to me. So we get B flat, F, B flat, and D, which is our tonic triad and root position, passing tone in the tenor, and then we get C, A, and E flat, which is another 7-6 chord, with a passing 7th of the alto, so 7-6. And then getting ready for our final perfect authentic cadence, we have D, B flat, F, and D, which is another tonic triad and root first inversion, passing tone in the bass, F, A, F, and C, with a passing 7th in the alto before we cadence on our tonic B flat major. It's our first perfect authentic cadence in the key of B flat, and it's our first perfect authentic cadence and the only perfect authentic cadence in the whole chorale. So that concludes today's analysis. Sorry for being so low energy today. I have a splitting headache. However, I wanted to get an analysis out there for those of you who are watching the videos on a daily basis. This was a fairly straightforward analysis, so it didn't require too much brain power, but there was some ambiguity in the cadences, and we did have kind of an interesting pre-cadential modulation here to C minor from G minor. So depending on how you look at it, I don't know, you might even be able to analyze this whole section in C minor depending on how you hear it, but I think breaking it up into G minor and C minor is probably the best thing to do, at least as far as the good-looking analysis is concerned. But other than that, this was a really quaint harmonization. Most of the harmony functioned the way that you expect it to, and yeah, I'll leave you all on that one. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel, and I look forward to tomorrow's analysis. I hope you take care.